Did I want to make a nice easy video? Yes. So you're gonna get the video just recorded next week because that is not an easy video to edit. There's just so much of it. And I've decided to put on a waistcoat just so I can differentiate between the footage. Anyways, okay. Hi, Shell.
And hello to all you other wonderful weirdos watching.
I'm currently reading Planet of Exile, and you can actually see that my bookmark is signalling that I have not got to a decent starting point in the middle of a paragraph. So it's just sticking out. But yeah, I felt like if I talk about Planet of Exile, I need to talk about Rocannons World. So that's what I want to talk about. Because I might as well give a dedicated review to Rocannons World if I'm going to give a dedicated review to the other two stories in this book. So yeah, we've got Planet of Exile and Ruin by Ursula K. Guin. And this is just the bind up of 3 stories. And Rocannons World is the start. And I did mention Rocannons World in my Amsterdam vlog. So if I do forget all of the names and you think I'm working my way around so that I don't have to say a name, that's why. It's been a minute and I can't remember everything. And I forget names of stories I've just read. So talking about a story that I read a few months ago, it's going to be even worse. So the prologue was beautiful. It's the prologue to Rocannons World reads like a legend of old, like something that passes into myth and legend. And it's the story. Ugh, the last video went on for so long, I went through 2 batteries. Okay, so Rocannons World. We follow Selmley as she marries influentially, the leader of the people, basically the king. So she is kind of realizing that her stolen fortune, her stolen inheritance, her dowry, which I realized what a dowry actually meant when reading this book. I've only ever heard it but never actually had it explained to me, but it's like the inheritance that a woman brings to the marriage. Yeah. Anyways, so the fact that this stolen inheritance came in the form of a necklace. She's not seen it. It was stolen from her family long ago, and she goes on a quest to find it because her husband deserves her wealth shown in this necklace, because other women are able to show their wealth and their husbands are better, like their husbands are able to flaunt their wife's wealth, etc., etc. And her husband can't. And she feels bad, even though he has reassured her that it does not matter because that's not important to him. He just wants her to be okay, which is quite nice. But she's having none of it. She goes off on the quest trying to find her lost inheritance. And she follows the clue to the sky people. And so she's on the ship to the sky, to the spaceship that's hovering down, hovering above the world in orbit. And the journey from the ground to the ship, she does not realize the cost of doing that journey until she returns, because all she has to do is ask for the necklace, because Rocannon is in charge of the exhibit, and he's then asking his supervisor, like the person assisting him, do we have a claim to this necklace, or do we have to give it back because they have asked for it back, which is quite actually respectable, going, stolen property should be returned. This does not belong to us. Have it back. And so when she returns with the necklace, she realizes it's been 18 years and her daughter is just as old as her. A war has been fought because she was missing. Her husband waged a war against the people he thought kidnapped her, and she runs from the palace in tears after dropping the necklace, giving it to her daughter, just ripping it off her neck, going, "Here, it's caused so much pain. I don't want it anymore," and then just flees into. Oh, it reads very heartbreaking, and ouch, you really feel for Selmley in that. It cost her so much that she can't even return to her husband because he died a few years before her return. Oh, that hurts. But we follow Rocannon as he is stranded upon the world because that encounter made him realize that there needs to be more of an effort when talking to the people of the planet that they are in orbit above, and kind of integrating into the space society is probably the best way of describing it. Like this federation of planets, if one can compare that, put that as a comparison, but he's just down there to properly make contact and get to know the planet and the people that live on the world. There's so many different species, but they have been catalogued by the people that first landed, and there was even a comment saying that the people that made first contact are from a particular planet themselves that are cave dwellers and don't like leaving the caves, and so that their first contact was with the cave dwellers of this planet, and they were deemed the most sensible, the most reasonable, because of that conflict of interest between people of the same background, that they don't see any other race as civilized or something like that. And that's where who gets the technology, who gets the advancements, who gets the spaceship to contact the spaceship above. And yeah, there's that lovely little line in there, and it's just like, we need to be a bit more selective, we need to do more thorough exploration into the planet before we make that contact. And that's what Rocannon is doing. He's leading that expedition of research into the planet, which is incredible in the sci-fi scope. And he is stranded because he realizes they're not alone. There's something else on the planet that does not belong. They are not the only visitors. And so his spaceship got shot down. He is the only survivor, mainly because I don't think he was on the ship when it was shot, but he has to get a message to his people, but it would take 8 years because the immediate communicator that they had was on board and no longer he has that immediate communication, so he can't warn his people of this threat that is potentially a danger to his people above in the spaceship. And it could also be a threat to the Foundation, the Federation that of planets that they have. I'm just going to call it the Federation of Planets because that's where my Star Trekky brain goes to. But yeah, but he has to figure out what to do, and his plan is to go and deal with it. He's got to go to the people who shot his ship down, to their landing site, and to what they are doing. And so, even though it is technically a sci-fi story, because of this world he is on, it's a fantasy-esque story because it's a quest of great scope and magnitude. There are creatures beyond belief, and as he's journeying, it does feel like a fantasy quest, and I love it for that. He gets separated from his party. He's riding wind steeds, which I thought, because they said steed, was a horse, Pegasus, but no, they're quite like aggressive and savage, and if they are too hungry, you don't want to go near them because they might eat you. So I did discover one of the fantasy covers made them look more like a winged tiger type creature, which very interesting. Even like helps with an attack on a particular castle just so that they have access, because they know they can't just walk up and go, "Hi, can you please escort us across the river?" No, they have to take over. They literally have to full on assault, and just because of how these people work. And so he's with Selmley's grandson, Mogian. But yeah, Mogian is the grandson of Selmley, because we get Selmley's daughter as an old woman talking to Rocannon, and he gives the necklace to Rocannon because I don't even remember why. It's just, here, take this. It's only right, because it was in his possession before in the museum, but now he's wearing it. And there's even a time when he gives up the necklace as payment, because to him it's nothing but a bad luck charm, because nothing good has come of it. And so he's just, right, if these people want the necklace so bad after his own crossing, yeah, he just gives it up because he doesn't seem, yeah, it's so bad of a bad omen to him that he's just like, I don't care. But it does come back in that Mogian gives it back to him because he's dealt with those people who nearly threatened to take it from him as payment for their crossing and their help, which, by the way, he did not have any say over. He's just trying his best to get from one A to B, and the different adventures ensue. One particular adventure where they get abducted in the middle of the night, and he's just the only one awake, and they're being force fed by a blind race of winged creatures. I think they are winged, but even that is very increasingly fascinating. It's just so fascinating how this particular race forms and how they are just keeping the party alive to feed this like nest of their like spawn. Oh, and how they started with the wind steeds. And I thought Rocannon was a bit dumb at one point, because he goes off trying to find the exit first of this great city that they landed in, and oh boy, he comes back out of the lair where he finds the nest of their spawn to another courtyard, and he thought, oh no, they've been taken to be eaten, I need to find them. And then he just like stumbled upon them. He came out he came out of a different place. It was a bit dumb. Oh, but he just went a wandering and lost his party that were just like cocooned, unable to move, and yeah, that was dumb. It just pulled me out a bit. But it was an interesting story, and it returns back to its sci-fi feeling when he finally gets to the people that shot him down. It did feel like everything in between felt like a side tangent, because it just took so long to get there, and it could have been from A to B. My ship got shot down. I need to warn my people, to finally confronting them. But the interesting thing of going from A to B is the journey that was the story, because at the end, it is dealt with in such an interesting way. And I have to say, Windsteed against Helicopter is so awesome. Oh, just that. Yeah, just. And I really did enjoy this story. I did have to take a minute to gel with Ursula K. Le Guin's writing style, as I often have to with the classics, just because there is so much going on. And Ursula K. Le Guin's writing is quite grand in making it not only make it seem like a grand epic fantasy tale, but also the sci-fi epic in its entirety of the story, from beginning to end, from Selmy's journey to Rocannon's end, of how Rocannon ended that story. It was beautifully done and executed, and how time worked in just getting a Selmy off the planet and back. Days for her, years on the planet, and how just trying to get a message would also take 8 years. Yeah, it would not plan out very well. And I do enjoy that aspect of there is a hiccup in communication, and that is it. It would take too long for the message to get through. And so that was a very good introduction story into Ursula K. Le Guin. And I am partially in the middle of Planet of Exile, and I am very much excited to keep going. So yeah, Planet of Exile and Ruin, Book 1, Rocannons World. I cannot wait to see what the next one has in store. I do plan on giving it a bit before releasing the final one. I did read the Rocannons World in the second quarter. I want to read Planet of Exile in this quarter, and the third and final one, City of Illusions, in the final quarter of the year. I was spacing them out, so that's why it took me a little while to get to the second story in this, but I did not want to leave Rocannons World without its own review, because I have changed my schedule since then and how I'm doing things since reading it, so it just felt a little odd that I would leave Rocannon out. So yeah, but I would say a 4 out of 5 for Rocannons World. 4 out of 5 stars, just because the dumbass moment where he thought he lost the party, and it was just he came out of the building onto the wrong courtyard. It just felt a bit weird. It just felt very weird in place of this story. What can I say? But anyways, bye, Shell.
And bye to all you other wonderful readers watching.
Bye.